Bolo Vinaka, and happy Sabbath to us members here in Islands of the Sea Ministry, and a special and a warm welcome to Pedro. I'd like to welcome you, and we just want to thank you, Pedro, for availing yourself in sharing the knowledge that you have on the Sunday Law message and enlightening us more, your family members here in Fiji. I'd like to welcome you to our Zoom sessions here on the Sabbath. First session here on Sabbath for the Islands of the Sea Ministry in Fiji. Just on behalf of the board members and also the members of the Islands of the Sea Ministry, would like to just say Happy New Year to you, Pedro, and also we'd like to welcome you. Warm, heartfelt welcome to you, and we just want to appreciate your time that you'll be able to come and share the knowledge that you have gained. And hopefully with our members that we will be able to learn a lot from your presentation today, and hopefully we will have questions at the end in order for you to enlighten us more on topics that we need to understand, especially for the Sunday Law message. Thank you so much, Pedro. I would like to welcome you to our Island of the Sea Ministry Zoom meeting this morning, and we really appreciate your time. And I'd like to welcome all members. May God continue to be with you, and may we be enlightened and be blessed. I know we will be blessed with the messages that Pedro has prepared for us this beautiful Sabbath. And hopefully we'll be fed with the heavenly manna. And we will be blessed with the messages that we're going to be shared with us today. So with those words, I would like to welcome each and every one of us to our Zoom session today. And I will give you now this time, Pedro, if you could just open with a word of prayer, and then we will continue with your session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pedro.
Thank you so much, George. Just a couple of questions before we begin. How much time do we have? Is it 1 hour and then questions?
Yes, Pedro.
Perfect.
We've given you a spot from 10 to 12. 12. That's a 2 hour span, time span. So you can sort it out, 1 hour presentation, and then the other 1 hour 45 minutes for question and answers after that.
Okay, sounds good. So let's begin with a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you so much for the blessing of starting a new year. Each and every one of us are thankful for the opportunity to live in this time of Earth history. And we recognize our need that the Holy Spirit may guide our thoughts, our hearts, but also our knowledge in prophecy and in history. We need your help so that we may understand our duty, what our purpose is in this world and in this time specifically. I ask you for a blessing for each people, each person here present, whether they are going through a time of difficulties or they are in good health and everything is good. In every context, I ask you for a special blessing so that we may realize how closely you've been guiding us and helping us to reach the light from heaven. Help us have humble hearts and open minds to be able to learn from you. In the name of Jesus, I pray all these things. Amen. Well, thank you again, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and for having the opportunity to talk to you all. Um, it is the morning for you here. We just begun our Sabbath. A little introduction about who I am. Well, I'm Pedro, as you already know. I live in Uruguay, small country in between Brazil and Argentina, but I was born in Venezuela. Probably you've heard news lately about Venezuela and Trump. So that's where I was born. And I'm right now located in Brazil with my in-laws. It is a blessing for me and a special opportunity to share a little bit of what my experience has been in the past 2 years regarding the Sunday Law message, regarding the process of arriving to correct conclusions, my own learning path into having thought one thing and then changing to another to better understand the rules of interpretation. So all I have to give is my perspective on things, how they developed for me, the way I see them now, and hopefully also establish us better into our current understanding of what the Sunday law is, uh, and how did we arrive to those conclusions at this moment. Uh, I understand the questions will be done at the end, but I don't mind having a little bit of interaction if you want. So feel free to ask questions or stop me. I sometimes prefer to, in small groups, I prefer to uh, have some feedback along the way, if you don't mind. I don't know if that's the kind of setting that you're used to, whether I can ask questions and receive answers from you. That would be a question for you, George. Is it something I can do? I can ask and receive some feedback, or
Yes,
we can?
yes,
Okay.
you can do that, Pedro.
Okay. Uh, I haven't done this much, so I will have one sharing screen, but this my camera will be on. Hopefully it will all work okay. Let me know if I need to adjust anything. I'm turning on my little whiteboard right now. Let me do it like this. Perfect. So if you don't mind, people, I would like to know from you uh what what each and every one of you understand to be um, the Sunday law right now. In simple words, if any of you are willing to give us a very short answer, what the Sunday law is, according to your understanding at this moment, feel free. We'll give you all some time. Sunday law is inequality. Thank you. If I pronounce any name correctly, I deeply apologize. Thank you, Taylor. Sunday law is inequality.
It's where
Yes.
the ceiling begins.
It's where the ceiling begins. I understood that correctly.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you're telling us something that begins in the or at the waymark of the Sunday law. But what would it be? It's in itself, if you have any idea. The Sunday law.
It's where a test is given, which uh, um, which will determine one's destiny.
That's right. Thank you for that. We'll develop a little bit on that. If someone else have anything to say, a different opinion what the Sunday law is? State nationalism? Thank you as well.
It's no longer a Sunday Sabbath issue as we know of. It has the focus has gone into the series of elections, which is the marker of what the Sunday law, how we mark the beginning the Sunday law.
Thank you so much, George. So let's clarify, what do we mean when we ask, or when I ask, what's the Sunday law? First, we need to write down our most basic template for our dispensation, whether we want to see it as the dispensation of the 144,000 or another group, another institution. Particularly this one, I mean to write down the 144,000 reform line, which we all understand it begins with a waymark that we call time of the end. And you all understand that time of the end, there's a whole lot of development about it, because we know it begins in 1798, specifically if we refer to the dispensation of the Millerites. But we are more specifically talking about 1989. And something interesting about the time of the end is that it is both a waymark, which means it is this point that I'm highlighting, but it is also what? The time of the end is a point, and it's a period. We are living in the time of the end, and this period called time of the end will last till the second coming, right? So something similar happens with the Sunday law. Before we go to the Sunday law, we know that after the time of the end, we have the 9/11 waymark. We call it 9/11. We're not gonna talk much about it. And we know we use the year 2001 to mark this waymark. But then we have the middle waymark. We could talk about the agriculture model or other ways to prove what this waymark is, but I'm going to just call it as we call it, the Sunday law, and understand this to be a point, but also a period. So the Sunday law has a point that I'm highlighting, but the Sunday law is also a period of time that goes from what I'm calling Sunday law till what we usually call COP, or close of probation. More recently, different names have been brought to our attention. Not particularly new names, but it's good to have them. Anyone remembers what else can we call the Sunday law and the close of probation? More specifically, Elder Terry has brought us to attention a different name that we can give to these two waymarks. Yes?
Universal Sunday law.
Thank you. So we have, if I can try to write it down, just the acronyms, National Sunday Law, and we can say Worldwide or Universal Sunday Law. But it's the same, if you want to call it like that, or simply Sunday law and close of probation. We understand to be referring in the particular topic that we're dealing right now is the period of the National Sunday Law, an event that we have very specifically tied to something happening where? Geographically.
United States of America.
Exactly. So we say that this is a national Sunday law, not because it is a law and not because it only will have an impact nationally, but it begins in a specific place. And we're going to talk about more how we change from law to whatever we believe that the Sunday law is right now. So this is the USA, and this is where the Weimar that we want to talk about today, I'm going to highlight it with this square. The Sunday law or national Sunday law, that is why it's so tightly linked to the nation of the United States of America. So this is what we mean, or this is what I mean when I ask, what is the Sunday law? What I'm trying to say is, what is the event that marks that waymark within the square? So I will ask again, now that we have a context, when I say, what is the Sunday law? I'm talking about the waymark, not the period of this of the national Sunday law. RNC, that's a good one. So we have one answer given here, and we're going to add it. The RNC. I don't know if someone else.
Election cycle.
We have election cycle. This gives us a lot to talk about. I don't know if some people are writing in the chat. Let me just check. Oh, yes. So we have, yeah, RNC, election cycle. Let me just put election cycle first, and then RNC. So one issue that confronts us when we get to this point, what point? When we get to the point of trying to interpret and attach an event to the waymark that I'm talking about, the Sunday law, the waymark itself, because we always tied an external event to the waymarks that we can see in the board right now. 1989, 2001, we use different events, and that's how we are able to find historical proof to attach these waymarks some context in the real world, although we also understand that there's a spiritual things happening. So when we talk about the Sunday law, we have said that it is about something that happens in the nation of the United States. We could go different places and talk about how we know that. I'm sure most of you or all of you know that, well, as Adventists, we based our prophetic interpretations basically from Daniel and Revelation. Daniel and Revelation being God's given prophetic books for the church. And the topic that Daniel and Revelation seem to talk about the most, it's the sequence and the events and the changes that happen through the ages in Satan's kingdom. Of course, it talks about many other things, but it clearly gives us a lot of information about what is the first kingdom and who follows that one, and then the other one, and then we end up with the whole story of the Satan kingdoms or the satanic kingdoms. Which are basically worldly kingdoms. And that's how at some point we arrive to the period of the United States. So one thing that I want us to understand is there's something that happens in the United States that this is not even us. Uh, this is an Seventh-day Adventist solid doctrine. Maybe we have refined it more, and clearly we have a lot of more of greater understanding about the current interpretation of it. But this is something that comes from our Seventh-day Adventist background, which is that the United States, it's part of the Bible prophecy. That's one thing. But also that something very interesting will take place in that nation, right? And that's something that will take place in that nation. It's portrayed in the Bible in different places through different symbols. But regardless of the symbols, Adventists understand that this thing that will happen to the United States or in the United States marks a turning point in Bible prophecy, and a turning point in the church history. And we have actually given it the middle waymark of our line. This event that happens in the United States, we have given the middle waymark before the close of probation. So let's talk a little bit about where in the Bible we have understood that an event happening in the United States, it's such a turning point that it becomes the middle waymark. Is a point of transition for different things. Someone talked about the ceiling, but I'm sure there's different other symbols and stories that we can tie to the Sunday law, things that start happening at the Sunday law. Revelation, let me see. Revelation 13. I want to start by Revelation 13, though we want to talk about more Revelation 17. But let's use 13 just as a quick template to this event that happens in the United States. First of all, what is being represented in Revelation 13 to be the nation of United States, if we want to go by simple terms? Revelation 13. We know that there's two beasts in Revelation 13. We know that one of those beasts, it's what we've called the papacy. But then in chapter 13, verse 11, we know that a different beast comes to the scene. John the Revelator said, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Right there in verse 11, it's where we find what I'm trying to call the transition. This is the beast with two horns like a lamb, but then we're given a very striking contrast. It is a lamb, but it speaks as a dragon. Maybe some people could interpret it differently and say, well, the United States all along, since its inception, has been both a lamb and both a dragon, and sometimes the United States have been bad, and sometimes the United States have been good. But the way I would like us to think of this apparent contradiction in the character of this beast being a lamb, but also a dragon, or rather speaking as a dragon, I want us to understand that this is actually a period. And I believe recently Elder Parminder have talked about this. Basically, what we want to take from Revelation 13 is that there's something happening, there's a transition going on between two United States. Is this still the same nation? But we can say this is United States as a lamb, and this is United States as a dragon. Meaning the United States has been behaving, we could say good, but something will happen that then it will start behaving badly. We're using just good and bad, but it's the same as saying lamb and dragon. So it becomes very, very important for us as the students of prophecy to understand this point. When will this happen? When will the United States transition from a lamb to a dragon? And how can we call this point? Can anybody help me with that? The point when the United States cease from being a lamb and starts speaking like a dragon. There has to be a point, right? At some point, it stops being a lamb and now it speaks like a dragon. There's a transition, there's a turning point. What do we call that transition point? It's a question for you.
Time of the end.
Let me just open the rest of the line. When you say time of the end, do you mean 1989?
Yes.
Okay, so we have one option. The United States stops being a lamb and became a dragon at the time of the end. That's a question. Thank you for that. Someone else have a different opinion or agree?
Is it at Sunday law? Waymark.
Okay, we have another option. Is it the Sunday law itself? Thank you for that. One more person would like to speak? When did the United States stop being a lamb and becomes a dragon?
At shipwreck.
And the voices
Sunday law.
change.
Oh, I got mixed voices. Can someone help me see what were the two waymarks given?
One said during shipwreck.
At shipwreck?
And,
Okay.
Yeah, at shipwreck. And Waisiki, if you can just repeat yours.
When the voices changes.
The
I mean,
voices?
cohesive power when it's been used, when from llama to a dragon.
RNC.
RNC, we have RNC. Also in the chat, we have RNC. So we have different answers, but most people seem to see that something happens in the United States and it changes. Someone said shipwreck, which we know is a symbol for Sunday law. Someone said RNC, which is specifically talking about an event in our time. And some people have said the Sunday law. I understand they're basically saying the Weimar that we're talking about. So that's exactly the point. We call this point of transition that we can see in Revelation 13 as the Sunday law. This helps us understand that the Sunday law is something, the Sunday law as a waymark, the one that we can call the national Sunday law, to be more specific, is actually an event happening in the United States. And we can get a little bit of the nature of this change or this event, meaning that the United States have been so long something, in this case a lamp, but now it will start transitioning to something else. This is a very simple story. This story is not telling us if there's probably also a period of time between lamb and dragon. It seems to be saying that it happens in one moment. There's definitely more stories, more parables in the Bible, in Daniel and Revelation, that gives or could give more detail into how this transition happens. But God and the Bible, we have seen, try to help us by giving us simple stories. Lamb, but then dragon. Therefore, transition point, you can call Sunday law. The moment when the United States changes. So I want you to see how different I'm speaking about the Sunday law as, for example, we would speak about it 5-6 years ago. We're not talking about the Sunday law as being neither a law. We basically just said it's a point or a change that happens in the United States. We are changing the terminology that we use formerly. I'm not talking about a law. I'm not even saying it has to do with Sunday, but rather something that happens to the very nation represented by the Lamb that speaks as a dragon. So we're not trying to give interpretations. We're just trying to state the facts. Something happens within the period of this kingdom, this beast, if I can call it beast. But now let's go to where we have spent most of our time during the last year, 2025. Elder Perminder has, I think, since the beginning, probably long before, but I can clearly remember at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, Elder Parminder speaking as if the whatever Revelation 17 is, the woman and the beast, whenever we get to the point where we understand who those symbols represent or what they are, we would get a greater understanding of the Sunday law. I see a lot of wisdom in that. Meaning, we didn't know exactly what the woman was, what the beast was, talking about Revelation 17. But Elder Parmendo was already alluding to us, kind of giving us a clue that whatever we find in Revelation 17, whenever we finally be able to separate, isolate the symbols and understand what they are, we would probably understand what the Sunday law is. I see a lot of wisdom in that, because that's part of what happened. It's not that we can only understand the Sunday law through Revelation 17, clearly not. Elder Terry wasn't using Revelation 17, and she was able to pinpoint what was the specific event. But clearly, Revelation 17 gives us a lot more, let's say, context and symbols to more fully be able to see what the Sunday law was. So let's talk a little bit about Revelation 17 in the same dynamic or in the same fashion that we have talked about Revelation 13. Reviewing, I said 13, it's the beast that is like a lamb, but speaks as a dragon. And the point when it stops being the lamb and becomes a dragon, that transition is the one that we are going to call the Sunday law. So the Sunday law is when it stops being a lamb and becomes a dragon. How can we do that then with Revelation 17? So we do Revelation 17. I'm going to jump forward a lot of the details of Revelation 17. We have been talking about those and studying for quite some time now. But we do remember, I hope, that there's a specific, how can I say, there's a very specific progression going on in Revelation 17, which is, let me see if I can draw a little structure and give some numbers. This will be 6. Sorry, this will be 5. This will be 6. And this will be 7. This will be was, if I actually can pull out the specific words, someone can remind me. When it speaks about the beast, it says that the beast was and
Is not.
Is
is not and
Yet is.
and yet is. Let me pull out this specific phrase that says in Revelation 17:8, it says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And the phrase that you have highlighted, it's found here when it says, was, is not, yet is. The yet is, it's what at the beginning of the verse is called was, is not, shall ascend. Everybody sees this?
Yes.
When it says yet is, it's talking about the future or the present?
future.
Future. We know that because it says shall ascend. And also because the structure is quite straightforward. There's something that was, there's something that is, there's something that will be. So if I can just very simply say shall be, to make it simple. We then have a very interesting structure here. We have something that was, something that at some point is not, but will be again, shall ascend, future. So we have this structure. Now let's talk about symbols. I am a terrible drawer, or I don't know how to draw anything actually, but I'm gonna try do a beast. If we have this beast that we know has many heads, how many?
7.
Has 7. It will be this with 7 heads. What else am I missing from this symbol?
10 horns.
The woman.
Someone talked about the horns. Thank you for the horns. And I specifically wanted to talk about the woman. So we have a person. There's a person on top of the beast. See. I'm still audible, right? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes, Pedro.
Sorry, I think I lost a little bit of connection for 1 second. What about now? Is everyone able to hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
Pedro.
Okay, I think my whiteboard is a little slow for some reason. Okay, so the two symbols that I want to talk about specifically are the woman and the beast. So we can say woman and we can say beast. Now, we can see that the woman is on top of the beast and the beast has 7 heads. So we also have a symbol of heads. And this is the moment when we need to stop and we need to try to see or understand what's being given to us. So if I can do with a different color the rest of this line, 4, 3, 2, 1, we know that it's actually saying that there's a kingdom that is first, the second, the third, and the fourth. And we know that this is basically talking about the kingdoms of Satan. But more specifically about the latest 3 kingdoms. And we need to try to understand the most important thing that is being given to us, which is what does it mean when it says is not? It's in the present. I'm going to jump forward some other details that we have talked about. The transition point between the 5th and the 6th, we have called time of the end. 1798 or 1989. Therefore, we know that when it says was, it's talking about before 1798. When it says is not, it's the present, it's talking about after 1798. And then we have another transition point, which is from the 6th to the 7th. And we need to understand when is this transition point. So let's go back. I want to say that before I say that, let me ask to you, what do you think, people, the Bible is trying to tell us when it says the beast was? What does it mean it was? It was what?
Was alive.
What was that? What is it like?
Existed.
I missed that too.
They said alive, Pedro.
Alive. Great. So it was alive and then it died. So let me put that down, and I would say during number 5, the beast was alive. Great. What about number 4? Was it alive or dead?
Yes, it was alive.
So it
Alive.
was alive. And I guess we can do the same with the rest. It was alive. It was alive. It was alive. Although this is not the emphasis of Revelation 17. Revelation 17 wants to talk about only 5, 6, and 7. We're going to assume that it was alive. But then during the 6, it was not. So I can say, can I say that it was dead?
Yes.
And when it says it shall be, can I say that it will be alive again? Cool. Now, in this terminology of alive and dead, what is this point? The transition. How would you call it? How would you call the point when something that was dead became to be alive again?
Resurrected.
Resurrection.
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 So we have a word that we can attach to it, which is resurrection. That's all nice, but we still need to, how can I say, we still need to find something that can help us determine when it is dead and when it is not. How can we determine what makes this beast to be alive? Probably if we do so, we will know how it resurrects. Because otherwise we end up thinking, well, maybe, something will happen and it will receive some help, or someone would do some satanic miracle and will cast out spells and resurrect. I don't know. We could make up any story about the resurrection. In fact, we know as movement people that there's a lot of stories out there about this resurrection. We know, for example, Seventh-day Adventists, they still expect who they expect to perform the resurrection of the beast.
Rome. Papacy.
They still expect the papacy, but then they see the papacy, and the papacy doesn't really look like it's wanting to do much gathering of political power. Then they go and try to find, well, probably it's because of the climate change. And you can easily see how we just go from prophecy to very funny stories when we don't know what is it that makes the beast to be alive. And this is what I want to talk about. What is it that makes the beast to be alive? And for that, we need to go back to the ICM. I'm hoping all of you were able to follow or watched the ICM presentations by Arjen, sorry, and Curtis, and Elder Terry, and also the Parminder and Elena, where what was most of the time the topic, they were working with definitions. Does any one of you remember the definitions of what they were talking about? And I don't want to lose you all. I'm trying to say that we need to know what is it that makes the beast alive. Now I'm jumping to some definitions from ICM, but we're going to the same point. I want to find out what is it that makes the beast alive. I cannot make the beast alive if I'm not yet defined what the beast is. So I need to say, I need to know what a beast is. I need to know what a head is. And I need to know what the woman is. Does any one of you remember some of the definitions that were given?
A woman is an entity with an ideology power.
It's an entity that what, sorry?
An entity with an ideology power.
Great.
Control.
If you want to continue, yes, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Pedro.
Okay, so we have been said that the woman is an entity with an ideology. How do we know that? How do we know the woman is an entity with an ideology?
Every entity has is founded on principle or an ideology. It has a purpose of its existence.
So an entity has a purpose. And how do you know in the first place that the woman is an entity?
When we go back to the 1,260 years, the was number 5,
Uh-huh.
and we realized that as what we've known in the past, that that the woman is equals to a church, which is an entity. Is that right?
I get your point. So basically, you're using a technique, which is, well, let me go to a period of time in the past where I already know what the woman was in order to tell what the woman is today. I think is a very useful way of finding out. And totally, I think it's part of what the intention of prophecy is, so that we can have patterns and similarities from the past and take those templates and interpret today, which is very helpful. But I would like to go to the root of the very symbol. It is called woman. In the most simple terms possible, a woman is, forget about prophecy. What
Church.
is a woman?
Church.
Church.
Not prophecy, not tricky definitions. Like in real life, what is a woman?
A wife.
Someone
Life.
said a wife. What was that, Taylor?
Life.
Sorry, I didn't catch you.
Sorry, life.
Life like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Help
So
me.
sorry, Sadie, there's a little bit of an echo there. What did you say? Gives life.
Help me.
If someone understands, can someone help me?
She said helpmeet. Helpmeet.
Helpmeet.
How can I spell it?
HELP LPMEET MEET.
Helpmeet. So people have said wife, helpmeet, and life as giving life. Okay. Well, all of these definitions, well, this one, I guess it's patriarchally being taken from Genesis, I guess. Wife, probably as well. Life-giving, well, it's a fact of biology. I would, but I don't want to go there to any of these definitions. What I actually wanted to go is to the most. Someone said women, female.
Female,
Well, I'm just gonna give the answer that I wanted to go for. A woman is a human. Oh, I see someone at the end gave it. A woman is a human. A human being. Those are the most simple terms possible. So forget about woman. This is about a human being. The other symbol is beast. Let's go for beast. What is beast in the most simple terms?
people,
Animal.
Thank you. Animal. Perfect. Now, let's continue with the definitions. We have human and animal. Now, let's talk about animal and try to understand what kind of animals carry people on top of them. I guess many type of animals can do that, but what is a most common one?
Horse.
A horse. And what do we call the person, the human that goes on top of a horse?
Horse rider.
Juke.
I guess English is not my language, but I will go with what's the best word I can use?
Jokey.
Jokey. Okay. I will do jokey. We know this is the driver or the rider. Let's put here driver as well. We understand the point. Horse and a rider. A jockey or a driver. This is the symbol that we are given. Definitely. Because it says riding the beast. Let's see if we can find where it says that. Where does it say that? In what verse? Let's see if I find it.
3.
It says sit upon, right? Perfect. So we have sit upon. That means if you're sit upon a beast, it's because you're doing something with that beast, isn't it?
Yes.
If
Verse
we
7.
take these two symbols together, I want to suggest to you that when the Bible it's in verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, it's talking about a specific kind of beast. For example, if I take the horse alone, can the horse accomplish things?
No.
No.
No, right? But what if you give a horse something on top, like a mind of a human being,
It
and
will
you put
accomplish.
a human on top? Now that horse can do a lot of things, because the horse alone, I mean, it does things, but not the one that we know. It's the context of our story. We're talking about kingdoms here. We're talking about purposes. So a horse needs to have a human on top. So this beast has to have a human on top. And as someone said, a human has many things. One of those that is very important, it's agency. A human can decide what they want to do. They can have purposes and try to accomplish things. Now, what is more powerful? A human walking or a human on top of a horse? You could, we
Woman on
know,
horse.
we know a human can go across different countries with a horse way more rapidly than it could go on foot. So this is, we're talking about the Bible, 2,000 years ago, this was a living reality. You could conquer nations with humans on top of horses. So I guess we get the point. This person with agency that have specific purposes and ideas, if he has a horse, then it becomes something that could really accomplish greater things. So this is the symbol that we're given. We're being said that there's a woman and she's on top of a beast. And because of Daniel and Revelation, we know the beasts are in its most basic terms, some sort of government or kingdom. So that's why when we have been given the definition of woman as being, and I will write it down now, entity with an ideology, by entity, we are just trying to keep it vague enough to, let's say, fit all of the different dispensations from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sometimes that entity can be a whole institution, like the papacy that was controlling the kings of Europe. Therefore, your woman and your beast, this entity, which was an institution called the papacy, controlling other kingdoms or kings. When we go to beast, what were we told about the definition of the beast?
Political institution with power.
Political. Let's talk about. Thank you. I will continue with that, Saini. Thank you for that. If we stop on political, what we're trying to say with this is that based on this study and the history of the other 4 kingdoms in the past, in all instances, this entity that had an ideology didn't want any type of power. Like we said, the horse is an animal with a lot of power. That is in literal terms. Spiritually, we want to understand, well, what kind of power is this entity wanting to get? And we can easily go to the conclusion it has to be political power, the power that shapes nations and wages wars and changes, laws, etc. political power. So, sorry, I should have said institution first. So you were saying institution. Oh, I did it wrong again. I'm getting mixed up between Spanish and English. So it is a political, it's an institution. And we could talk about what it's an institution, but in all the examples of these 7 kingdoms, at least the first 5, it is always an institution that holds political power. So political institution with power. The word power is being added to be very specific. There can be many types of institutions, like a university, or I don't know, even a church institution. We're talking about political. Well, political parties. I don't know, for example, the Green Party of Australia. How much power does the Green Party has in Australia? Or how much the Libertarian Party has in the United States? Or how much, I could go on and find different parties from different countries, and we can easily get to the conclusion that not all political institutions, like for example, some political parties, not all of them have the power that we're trying to talk about here. Someone could say, well, this is the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They're certainly powerful institutions. Are they powerful enough to control a whole nation? Probably not. So this is why I'm trying to give a little bit of context of why each word is very important. It's political, it has to be an institution, and it has to have power. What's the last part of the definition of beast that I'm missing?
With power, then has adopted
That
the
has
ideology of the woman.
adopted the ideology of the woman. This is great, but this has a lot of implications. What is the implication? That the word beast alone is what? If we go to our symbols, let's go to horse and jockey. What is the beast? According to the definition that we just spoke about, is it the beast 1? Is it the beast 2? What is the beast? If we use these symbols, if we use human and horse, what is the beast?
Horse.
Okay. Someone
Both.
said the horse. Someone is saying the horse. But let's go to the definition again. Let's read it carefully. The beast is a political institution with power that has adopted the ideology of the woman.
Both.
Woman is the beast.
It's both.
You can see?
Both.
So it's a little bit confusing because clearly the beast is referencing the animal. But the definition that we were told at ICM is that the beast is not the horse only, is the horse when it's being controlled by the human. Therefore, the beast is the whole thing. Saying basically, what it basically means is this. There was, if I can grab this symbol, and I can put it here. There was a woman and a beast in Kingdom 1. There was a woman and a beast in Kingdom 2. There was a woman and a beast in Kingdom 3. A woman and a beast in Kingdom 4. A woman and a beast in Kingdom 5. Here is when it gets tricky. What do we have in Kingdom 6?
Only the beast without a woman.
And the beast.
Great. So I'm going to put the beast and the woman in 7. And I'm now basically going to put the woman and the beast in 6. But I will quickly go and erase the woman, the human that was on top. People, what is the difference between 5 and 6 or between 6 and 7? That something happened to the beast. It stopped, let's say, having the woman on top. Everybody sees this or have a different way of seeing it?
Clearly, Pedro, clearly. Thank
Great. Now, what we have just, let's say, unravel here is that we can now go to the point of transition, which is this point in the middle, and we can give it, in an attempt to describe it, we can now use certain words. When I asked you before, and we were talking about dead, or alive, and I said, what is then this waymark with a question mark? You all said it's resurrection because you understood that we were talking about dead and life. But now we're talking about the beast and the woman. And during the Kingdom 6, the beast has no woman. The question is, what is this point? What happens here?
someone.
Sorry, I
Marriage.
missed.
Someone is chosen to sit on the beast.
Okay, someone is chosen to sit on the beast. Okay,
Bringing to life the woman ideology.
bringing to life. I like what, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, Bessit said. The woman comes back to sit on the beast. The most basic way of putting it in terms of what we're talking about. If the beast is dead and then it is alive, we basically have just discovered that what makes the beast to be dead or alive is this. What happened when you take out the human?
Dead.
you only have a horse that is doing nothing. In
Idle.
other words, the Bible can say it's dead. It's dead in the sense or the purposes that it was doing before. Basically, what I can do different things. I'm probably manipulating the symbols. What I can do is basically write out, delete the beast. It's not even there because when it has no woman, there is no beast. The beast is now a symbol of these both entities together. And when they working together, they perform the acts and the purposes of the beast that is being told in Revelation 17. Or I could simply say, that's why there's different ways of seeing this, but I think you will all agree that all of those different ways make sense. If I do the beast again, and I put in a different color another woman, see now that is not the same woman. Meaning, the woman in blue, in all of the different kingdoms that I put in here, that woman is the woman of Revelation 17. And the Bible is telling us when that woman is not controlling the beast is dead. So we can erase the beast. Or I can simply say, what if the beast had a different kind of woman? Then we could simply say, well, it's no longer the same beast. It has to be a different beast or a different, how can we say, a different face or stage of that beast. This is the part that is not so clearly talked about in Revelation 17. But if I go up, remember when the beast was called lamb and there was called dragon? Here in Revelation 13, it speaks a little bit more about how it is the same nation, but it goes through two different stages or phases. A period where it is good and a period where it is bad. But Revelation 17 doesn't want to talk about the period when the beast is good. That is the work of Revelation 13, lamb. In Revelation 17, it wants to tell us the story of when the beast is bad, which is frankly most of the time. Only during the 6 is when it is dead. And it is dead because it didn't have the woman with the bad ideology on top. So what we have done, people, we have identified using the symbols of Revelation 17 that when that beast that do not have the bad woman of Revelation 17 sitting upon it, when that woman comes again to sit upon it, we can call, and I will erase the question mark, when that event happens, we could say, we arrive to the Sunday law. The same as in 1798, just that the opposite. When the bad woman that was on top was taken out of the beast, we arrive to time of the end. But when that woman comes back again, we arrive to Sunday law 2024. Now, when we've done this, sorry, can you go ahead with the question? Okay. It's okay, Ezekiel. Take your time or write down the question if you want, or even we can talk about those later. One more thing that I wanted to say, because of course there's a lot we could talk about. And you will all have more people coming in from the other speakers who will definitely have more and more details and precise aspects of this teaching. But what I would like to close with is that we have defined that the Sunday law, it's a point of transition. Either if we're speaking about the beast in Revelation 13, when it stops being a lion and becomes a dragon, we just briefly touch about it. But specifically about Revelation 17 and the importance of defining the symbols of beast and woman and even head. I know I jumped the beat about the head. I want to leave that out for sake of time. But we have at least been able to say something that hasn't been put into words, I think, ever. Not in Adventism, not even in the movement until now, which is the Sunday law is the point in time, the specific point in the history of the nations, when that woman that has been riding the beast but was taken away, whenever that woman comes back to ride the beast, then we could say we have entered into the Sunday law. This is a very, very, very specific way of talking about the Sunday law. Not because it is a law, not because it is something about a topic like Sunday, or not even a topic about equality. It's about when this power, specifically actually entity, gets to control the beast again. Another symbol that is given to us in Revelation 17 is this word: fornication. The one that I have been speaking about in today's presentation was about jockey, driver, riding, human and animal, the part that has to do with the woman on top of the beast. Is another kind of symbol. I don't know what name we can give it to it. The parable of Calvary or something. But now we also have another type of symbology, parables of relationships, specifically sinful relationships. And here we talk about fornication. I know this is a topic still in development, but the other way to understand what is happening in Revelation 17 is not only through the lenses of a human that is bad, that has a bad ideology, that always wants to ride a specific beast to control and to do its bidding. No, the other way, the other symbol that is also useful is that it is a woman that actually has a bad relationship, a prohibited relationship with a certain power. In this case, it's called the kings. So either if you want to talk about the woman who is riding the beast, or you want to talk about the woman who fornicates with the kings, is still the scene. We're still speaking about the same characters in the real world. So it becomes really interesting because it helps us understand, well, when fornication takes place, So let's do that a little bit. Now that we have talked about this, we need to say, what is the woman? Again, we need to say what it is and what is the beast. This time, I don't want the definitions, the vague definitions that we have given, entity, political institution, none of that. I would like to now speak about what it is today in application, not parable, not vague definitions, but the actual thing. Who wants to give it a go? What is the woman? What is the beast?
Woman mega.
Someone said woman is MAGA. Any other idea? What is the woman?
Culture.
What do you say? Did you say Trump?
Culture.
Oh, culture. We have culture. Okay, what else?
Manosphere.
Manosphere.
Donald Trump.
Any, someone say Trump?
Donald Trump.
So I need to clarify, is it Trump or is it MAGA, culture, manosphere?
I agree with Mega.
Manga. Yeah.
So here, I also thought for some time the same way you're speaking, but can we clearly see what is the issue here with the symbols? Remember when we said that a woman, in the most simple terms, is a human? Can a human be culture? No, right? A human
No,
cannot be
yes, no.
culture. A human cannot be MAGA. A human cannot even be manosphere. A human can believe in MAGA or have a specific culture or live by the principles of the manosphere. That I can agree with. A human can do all of those things, but the person or a human cannot be those things. I hope we can see the difference. So we know, even though I understand what you're saying, all of these words here are not entirely wrong. They're actually part of the, well, actually we have the definition, entity with an ideology. What some of you were saying this part. You were telling me this. But I wanted to know about this. The entity. The woman is an entity. So who is the
Trumpism.
woman?
A movement.
It's Trump.
Trumpism.
Ism.
So we have Trump and we have Trumpism. Perfect. Is it the person Trump or is it what is Trumpism? By when you say Trumpism or movement, you mean a group of people?
Ideology.
Oh, ideology, it's those things in here. Those things cannot be the woman because the woman is an entity. Now, the two options that we have here is because someone said it is Trump, but other people are saying it is actually Trumpism. Trumpism being, I don't know, a movement, I guess. That's what I'm asking. When you say Trumpism, do you mean a group of people with an ideology? Is that the entity?
Pedro. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else has any other ideas?
It's Trump.
Polit.
Someone said the person Trump. Okay. So we are divided. Either it is the person of Trump or it is the Trump movement.
Trumpism is a political movement.
Political movement and ideology centered around Trump.
Okay. But you remember that it cannot be ideology. The woman has an ideology, but the woman is not the ideology. I need that to be clear. So if Trumpism is an ideology centered around Trump, that is fine. It is the culture. But we want to define the woman. The woman is not that culture. The woman has an ideology or a culture or a set of beliefs. That is all fine. But the woman cannot be that. So the woman cannot be Trumpism, the ideology. Is that clear? Hopefully it is.
Could you repeat yourself again, Pedro, please?
Of course. What I'm saying is, if Trumpism is a culture, a cult of personality around Trump, that is not the woman. That is probably the culture that the woman has. It could be. But when I say the woman is an entity that has an ideology. So the ideology is not the woman. It cannot be. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you.
For example, well, let's not give examples. I think we're okay with this. So what we now need to define is it the person of Trump or is it the followers, the entity? What do you think? What is the woman? The followers or the person? Someone said the followers in the chat. Anybody else wants to give an opinion?
Trump himself.
Thank you for that. I think it was Erini. Thank you for your opinion. Trump himself. So we're divided. So let's try to, I guess there's different ways to try to understand this. Any of you have heard about the Epstein files?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do the followers want about the Epstein files? We have the Epstein files. What the followers of Trump want?
To be hidden?
No. I think we need to follow the news. Trump followers, they want the release of the Epstein files badly. I'm not saying 100% of the followers. I'm saying a lot of them. What I'm trying to say with this is that Trumpism as a movement, it's extremely big and it's extremely diverse. Some people want one thing, some people want other things. Some people still love Trump, but they want the Epstein files to be released. And only very few people from Trump's movement do not want the Epstein files to be released. You can go on Google and chat and search about that. Trump movement, they want the release of the Epstein file. So what I wanted to say is that if the Trump movement is the woman and they want the release of the Epstein files, and this woman is now controlling the beast, wouldn't the Epstein files be released already? Yes, they would, because the woman controls the beast. 90% of the followers of Trump, they want the release of the Epstein files, but they won't get that ever because they are not controlling the beast. Is my example clear or is it a bit confusing? Because
Yeah.
okay, because I see that some of you thought that the followers did not want the Epstein files to be released. So it is your homework. It's a quick Google search. The big fight that it's been within the MAGA movement. Any of you remember about Charlie Kirk? Big time Trump follower. He wanted the Epstein files. And so many others. So what I wanted to say is that the followers of Trump, they're not controlling the beast. They've been crying out for the Epstein files. And this is the Epstein files is just an example of a way to prove how the Trump movement is not in control of the beast. So if you want to define them as an entity, let's say I accept that. Well, they're definitely not the entity that controls the beast. So we're left with
Trump.
Trump, the person. Let's go with, let's visit one of our kingdoms. Who is the first kingdom?
Babylon.
Babylon. And who is, remember that we have the same symbol. Who is the woman in Babylon? The entity with the ideology. Bad ideology, by the way.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes. How do we know that? I'm just going to put Neb because I don't know how to spell his name. So Nebuchadnezzar is the woman that is sitting upon what?
The throne, the beast.
Yes, the throne. So you see, Nebuchadnezzar is both the woman, and because the throne is Nebuchadnezzar's throne, the Babylon throne is the beast. How do you know Nebuchadnezzar has an ideology? Do you all remember when he was told by Daniel, whom he trusts a lot, by the way, with the dream, head of gold, silver, brass, iron, etc. What, after that chapter, what is the first thing that Nebuchadnezzar did?
He built the image with all gold.
He builds it with all gold because he has a specific ideology. I don't care about giving my power away. I will keep it forever. So that is how you know Nebuchadnezzar is the woman. Why is not do you remember the priest of Babylon? The one that Nebuchadnezzar called first to interpret the dream? Do you think those priests and those, I don't know, sorcerers or something, they were in control of the beast? They never controlled. Not the throne, not the nation, not Nebuchadnezzar. I'm just giving that as an example because I have heard some people tell me, well, probably the woman was the sorcerers and the priests of Babylon. They were not the entity in control. the entity in control was Nebuchadnezzar himself, and the beast was the throne. If we can separate the two, we actually know that the beast is the two together. Nebuchadnezzar and his ideology with the power of the throne of Babylon. That was the beast. In number one, that was the beast. And yes, Nebuchadnezzar, one day he died, right? Well, guess what? The person that came after Nebuchadnezzar also has an ideology, and it was clearly a very similar one, actually the same one. I'm using this as an example to see in the past, you can have a woman in application going to the literal story. The woman can be a literal person that has a specific set of ideology, and that gets in control of the beast. So when we're saying that Trump is the beast, and we have defined this is something that you need to keep on meditating and ask questions for the next teachers as well, to fully get established about on this idea. If Trump is the woman, then what is the beast?
His throne, which is republicanism.
It's a good question.
Of Trump.
What was that, Selai?
The ideology of Trump.
Is it the beast?
The woman.
But I'm now asking about the beast. Who is the beast? Remember that the woman we have defined.
Yes, the
as Trump.
ideology of Trump is the beast.
So the ideology of Trump is the beast.
Could it be mega as the beast?
Remember, Trump is this little person here. You see this person? This person has the ideology of MAGA, has a culture, believes in the manosphere. Can we see that? This person is the woman, and these things in here is the ideology. The beast is something else. The woman is a human being like this, and it has ideas and beliefs. They are in this circle. They are in their mind. That's ideology. Can we see this? The woman is a person with ideology. The ideology cannot be the woman, and certainly the ideology cannot be the beast. The ideology is something abstract that you believe in. This person believes in a certain ideology, has a certain ideology, but that ideology lives in your mind. Now, this person that has in its mind a certain ideology, they want to sit upon what?
Throne, which is the presidential office.
Okay, we have the presidential office. I see someone there put POTUS, POTUS, which is President of the United States. I think that's a good answer too. This is where we need to go slowly. We don't have time. You will still have more people coming in, but this is the part that we need to go slowly and clearly define each symbol in our heads. The woman is a human. In its most simple terms, we have now decided that this woman today, the bad woman, is the person of Trump. And Trump, in his mind, he has a certain ideas and beliefs. that we know is the ideology that he has. Now, this person, Trump, has been walking around as a person. Remember the horse? What can you do without a horse? You're too weak. You can do nothing without a horse. You need a horse to travel. You need a horse to give you power, right? So Trump, the person, alone is just a woman with ideology of Revelation 17 here in Kingdom 6. He is not on top of the beast. I know this is the other woman, but he needs a beast. In Babylon, for example, Nebuchadnezzar, he had a beast. Remember what was the definition of the beast? Can we read it together? Political institution with power. What does the woman want? She wants a political institution that has power to do things. So Trump is the woman. He has certain ideas and ideologies. He can do nothing with that unless he has control of the political institution with power. How does he will get the power of that institution? How?
With a political
Through election.
party.
Through the elections, by becoming president, right? If he becomes the president, he will have the power. That is the issue. If he has the presidency, he will have the power. He will be now the woman, the human seated upon the beast, being able to control and do things. That is what we want to see. So the beast, as someone said, hey, when you become a candidate for the presidency, what will you be given if you win?
Power.
Power? But specifically, you're given an office.
Throne.
People, by office, I don't mean the literal walls and chair of the White House, although it is there. But if tomorrow the White House is destroyed, the presidency will still exist. They will have to go to a different location, but the office will still exist. Do you all know what a CEO is? The chief executive? It is It is an office that is given to you, not specifically a place, is that you are in charge. That we can call
Title.
the title. Oh, thank you so much. So he wants the office of the president. In other words, he wants the title. He wants to be the person controlling that institution. By institution, people, be careful with this. By institution, we mean the office. You're in charge of several people, you have a staff, they do things for you, you have a lot of power. And that's where Trump is seated. He has the title of president. He's sitting upon the office of the president. So he's the woman that wants this office. And in order to get that office, you need to run for president. After you run for president, you need to win the primaries. After you win the primaries, your party, the party that you win the primaries on, have to select you. And when the party selects you, you can then run officially as president. You will either lose or win. You will win the election. And in January, you will actually sit in the office. Am I being clear?
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. So this is where the controversy arrives. When does the woman sit upon the beast? Literally. In the literal world, when does Trump, I'm now translating, when does Trump sit on the office, on the chair of the president? When?
2016.
2016 if is the increase
24.
of knowledge way before the Sunday law. But now,
2024.
when? I didn't hear you, sorry.
24.
January
When
6th.
did,
January 6.
not January 6th.
July 18, 2024.
No, July 18 is back here.
January 20th, 2025.
Perfect. In January 20, this is when Trump officially sits on the chair, and he is sitting upon the beast in very literal terms. This is about the beast having a driver. But if we bring up the other symbol that we talked about, remember this word? Fornication. If we bring fornication, what January 20 will be in the symbology of fornication?
Action.
Action. Someone could say sleep, right?
Adults.
The actual act, the act of adultery. The act of adultery happens in January 20th of 2025. And this is in the story of fornication. When does Jesus defines fornication happening? During
When
the
you
act
think
or before?
in your
Before.
thoughts.
It
Before.
happens in the mind.
In
If
mind.
you thought, if it happens in your mind, if you decided in your mind that you were going to commit adultery, then the fornication happens, and this is the prophetic adultery, as Jesus would define it. This is how we jump from January 20th. You all can see clearly that literally Trump sits on the chair of president in January 20th. That's how the Constitution says. But when did Trump, the woman, committed adultery in the mind with this?
That the RNs.
with the chair. I have a lot more to say because a chair is not a person, right? We need a little bit more of work to get to that. But I'm happy that we have advanced this far to define that we know the literal fornication and the literal sitting upon the beast happens here. But there is something in the word fornication from the Bible itself that tells us there's something that happens in this relationship before the act is committed. And this makes us jump back. And there is a reason why we jump back to July 18th. I don't have time to explain why July 18th. I would like to stop here. I think we have 8 minutes of questions. If any of you have any questions, feel free to ask, or George, let me know how we go about this.
Thanks, Pedro.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Pedro, for your enlightening presentation. I think if you could just close with the word of prayer, then we just go on. Would you like that, or we just continue with question and answers? Then you pray one go.
Yeah, we can pray after questions.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just giving the floor to anyone. If you have any questions to ask Pedro, this is the time that is given to you. Please just unmute and ask your questions, or if there are any comments or something you want to say. The floor is open now.
Feel free to ask.
I
if
just have
there's
a
any
comment,
question.
Pedro.
Okay, please go. Yes.
So 18th July was the day that the name Donald Trump was accepted as a candidate
That's right.
as election. So can I call that the start of fornication? The beginning?
Exactly. That would be the moment of fornication. There's a reason for that I haven't got the time to get into, but we need to find a moment that is not the literal moment when Trump sits on the chair. That would be the what we would symbolize as the literal act of adultery. But if it happens before, symbolically, we know adultery begins in the mind. How can we go from something that happens in the mind in symbology to the actual game of politics, the rules of politics? There has to be a moment when Trump is, let's say, flirting with the chair. And what we have identified is that prior to July 18th, constitutionally, by law, Trump, the person, is not flirting with the chair because he is not a candidate. According to the laws, a candidate can only become a real candidate after a major party selects you, approves you, and he was approved in July 18. See it like this. In August, I don't remember the date, Kamala, she was also selected as candidate, right? Everybody knows this, right?
Yes.
The Democratic Convention happens in August. The Republican Convention happened in July. Let's say, people, that Trump was not in the in the Republican Party. This is just a hypothesis. Imagine for a moment that actually Trump was part of the Democratic Party and he was announced president in August. But Kamala, she was the candidate of the Republicans. So Kamala would be here. When do you think the fornication happened in this hypothesis?
August.
August.
In August. Why? Because Trump is the woman with bad ideology. And Kamala, it's a woman with what?
Good.
Good ideology.
Good ideology. Very easy. If she was elected in July 18th, Kamala would not be the woman of Revelation 17 because she has the good ideology. The good ideology of all other presidents before her. And Trump would be flirting with the chair lawfully, legally, only when he is approved and selected and nominated is the right word, nominated by the party. But we know this is, of course, not what happened. Kamala is actually a Democrat and Trump is a Republican. But this exercise that I just did is very important because this tells us that there's two protectors, two gatekeepers, the Democrats and the Republicans. And in order for the bad woman to come to ride the beast, she needs to conquer one of those two gatekeepers. It could have been the Democrats, but not. It came from the Republicans. I know there's a lot of work about that. We know about 2014. We know about Mitch McConnell, and we know about the process. We have a lot of stories and prophecy about it. Elder Tess dedicated many of her time doing that to get us to this point where in July 18 of 2024, the bad candidate, the bad woman with a bad ideology, she was able to become nominated to be the president. Trump became nominated, the actual nominee, and now he's flirting. He has legal right to, let's say, have contact with the chair, not literally, but he's a real candidate. That's why we understand. This is one of the reasons. I know I didn't have time. This is one of the reasons why it has to be July 18th. There's more to say about that. I hope that answers a little bit of some of the questions that you made. I think I forgot who asked the question, but thank you. If is there any other question? Feel free to ask. I know how much time you all have, but I'm okay if you have any more questions.
Just a question, Pedro.
Yes.
Yeah, just a question. I don't mind to be rude when asking this question. I have not been following your presentation, but the question is, when Elder Terry brought up July 18th as the Sunday Law Waymark, Was there like, did you agree with her, or did you have your specific dates for that? It's just a question.
I don't. That's a great question, and I think that's part of why I'm here. I'm here to tell you about also my own experience. So, if I could put it in simple terms, this is not entirely true because we didn't have all of the symbology of the woman and the beast sorted out. But a good way to understand it, let's say that what I thought the Sunday law was the moment when Trump takes office, when he really sits upon the beast. He's really riding the beast, and now he has the power. Remember when we said this is the point, the transition? When the beast has no woman, when it has a woman, I went to the literal constitutional date for when that happened. I went to January 20th. What I didn't know, and I came to accept, is that this act can be defined in a different way. There are many reasons why it's not July 18th. We're focusing only on Revelation 17. But for sake of time, I thought it was the literal moment of January 20th. By the time I was at the ICM, just a few months back, I was able to see and understand the arguments of Elder Terry and also the arguments that were brought up later during the camp to understand that it happens before, not on January 20th. In January 20th, it happens literally, but there is something that happens before. In the mind, if we can use the parable of adultery, there's something that happens in the mind with the ideology, and that is something that we can only mark using July 18th. So, short answer to your question, no, when she brought up her message, I would still have doubts. I also had doubts about my own study. I was never 100% sure. I was open-minded, and I remained open-minded until I was able to see why I was wrong and why Elder Terry was correct.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other question?
Pedro, another word that we have used or I've heard from Ariane and Curtis, the word adopted, the definition of the woman.
Yes.
And Elder Terry wanted us to use the word the woman being controlled, not adopted, controlled by the woman to enforce the woman's political ideology.
Okay.
Instead of using the word adopted, we have to use the word controlled. That's just my observation. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great way of putting it. We could say that the beast adopted the ideology, but probably a more accurate way to say it is that the beast is controlled by the ideology of the woman, or probably just by the woman herself. So I think there's some flexibility in these terms, but I like the point that you're making. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Perfect. If you allow me a very brief recap, we talked about our reform line. We talked about how the Sunday law is the middle waymark, and we can now call it the National Sunday Law. And it is a point. It is also the beginning of a period. And we have moved from believing the Sunday law being a law or even being about Sunday to be something that has to do with a turning point, a transition point from either, we could say, one kingdom from another, or we could say a change that happens in a specific kingdom, specifically the USA. One way to understand that, we use Revelation 13 when it is a lamb and transitions into a dragon. We then talked about Revelation 17 when this beast that has always had a woman on top, a rider, a jockey on top, during Kingdom 6, it had no woman. So there was no beast in the definition that we believe. We could say a lot more about that, but that is in simple terms. So when this beast gets to have a woman on top again, that is the Sunday law. The moment when this woman controls the beast again. But that is still too simplistic because another symbol is given in the Bible for this moment, not only when the woman sits on top, but actually when the woman commits fornication with that king or that beast. And by the symbol of fornication, we understand through Jesus and the Bible and a very well-known verse that it happens before the act. The actual fornication happens before the act. So in January the 20th, Trump was literally the president of the United States, but the adultery happened before. And if it happened before, we need to understand the laws that govern the transitions of power and the election cycle. When would this woman be really candidate for the office? Only when the party nominates this candidate. This candidate is Trump. Trump is the woman, and the chair or the office of the president is the beast that he wants. And he started flirting, having adultery in the mind. This is symbolic, of course, only when he becomes the nominee. So we understand that is the point of fornication. He later, of course, would do the rest, would commit the act, would do certain things. But the point of transition, according to the Bible and prophecy, is fornication, and it starts in the mind. This is a very, very summarized way of getting to this point. I hope it was a blessing for me too. And I invite you all to close with a word of prayer. Dear God in heaven, we thank you especially for the tremendous privilege of belonging and being part of this work. We don't fully understand all of your purposes and what you want to do, but we have enough light to know that you want us to be part of this movement, that you want us in however our capacities to be able to work for you and for this institution, which is our message. Your message helps us not to be discouraged because you're not expecting us to be able to do everything and anything, but be here and do whatever our capacities allows us to provide and to work and to encourage others and to build up this institution. Helps us understand that you have an important purpose and that we may be faithful. Helps us to understand prophecy, which is the job that we were given. Thank you for this privilege. Thank you for the people in Fiji. Please bless them and continue helping us. Bless our leaders. Bless our elders. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.